Alex here from Rebeloper.com, and welcome back to another interesting series on Firebase authentication. And today we are going to sign in with Twitter. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. Today we are going to sign in with Twitter. So let me just show you what we are going to build out today. And I will just open up here our QuickTime player and simply select my phone and build and run. Okay. I am using my phone because, as you saw, it has already Twitter installed upon it. Now, when I tap on login with Twitter, I will be asked for the native way of joining this project. If you don't, or your user doesn't have the Twitter app installed, they will be prompted through a Safari browser to log in with Twitter. Okay, let's tap on login with Twitter. And here we go, connect your account. Okay, I am logged in with the Rebeloper Twitter account, so I will connect now. And here we go, logging in with Twitter. Let's wait for it, and we are there. And we are going to fetch our user. And as you can see here, we have our name, our username, and our UID that is inside the Firebase database. And of course, here is my profile picture, the Rebeloper profile picture. You kind of notice that we don't really have an email. That is because Twitter doesn't really allow Firebase to fetch the email. If you wish so, but we will not cover this, but if you wish so, you can prompt the user at a later time, maybe in the settings, to give their email, and then you can update the Firebase database with the not the database, the authentication system with the email that your user provides. Okay, so we are going to build out this today. There will be a lot of copy and pasting because in the last previous videos it kind of took too long, and by now you know how to do those major things, so I will just guide you through the code. Of course, I will type in if necessary. Okay, let's stop this and let's get to work. Let's open up our project here and let us just navigate to the welcome controller. Okay, first things first, we need to, first of all, add UIKit, but before we do that, let us just open up a new window here in Chrome and go to firebase.google.com, and I will just open up another firebase.google.com to see the docs. Okay, I will select iOS, and here let's select authentication and Twitter login. Okay, now before you begin, add Firebase to your iOS project. We already have done that, and now we need to register your app as a developer application on Twitter and get your app's API key and API secrets. So where do we want to add those API keys and API secrets? So let us go to our console and Firebase authentication. Okay, and under authentication, as usual, we select sign in method and we select Twitter. Let it just load here. And let us choose Twitter, and here you can see we have our API key and API secret. Now let's grab that. So let's go to apps.twitter.com, or if you haven't already signed in, go ahead and sign into a Twitter developer. Okay, now let us just create a new app, and I will name this. Okay, description. Website, you need to add in a valid website, so https rebeloper.com and not Pablo. Okay, and that is it. And our callback URL. So we get our callback URL from here. So let us just copy that and paste that in there. Okay. developer agreement, yes, I agree to donate my organs to Twitter, and I will create this app. Okay, something is missing. The client application faithfully Firebase authentication is already taken for the name. So I will just type in here Rebeloper. Okay, Rebeloper. It seems to be, yeah, it has 32 characters a maximum. Okay, pretty good stuff. So I will create our Twitter application again. And now we want to get these keys, and that is where we want to go, keys and access tokens. And I will just copy this out, paste it into our API key. Oh, first we need to enable it, of course, API key. And while we are at it, let's go into Xcode, and under service, let's create a Twitter API key staticlet. It will be a string, and I will paste that in there. Now let's go back and select our secret there. Let's add it into our API secret and do the same for our now finally let's click on save, of course, because we want to enable Twitter, and that is all we need to do under authentication. And let's go back here, and I would point you to this button, regenerate customer key and secret, because you should never divulge these keys. So I will be sure to regenerate my customer key and secret. Okay. What is up next? Well, we need to add TwitterKit to our pod file. So I will just type in here. Okay, now that we have added our TwitterKit, it's time to launch terminal. So let's do that, and of course let's cd into our project here, and that is Firebase authentication. Okay. Let's hit return and pod install, so we may get that Twitter core and TwitterKit installed into our project. Good stuff. Now let us just go back to empty-leget, and inside our empty-leget file, let's import, let's see if we do get TwitterKit. Yeah, we do get TwitterKit. And next up is that we want to start the TwitterKit, and we will do that by this twtr Twitter shared instance start with key, with consumer key and consumer secret. And I will just copy this out and paste it under the FB SDK application delegate code. Okay, of course, the service Twitter key and the service.Twitter secret is that we have just created. Okay, now we need another function here, and that is application open URL options, and we will return, let me just paste that in here below the application open URL source application. Please notice that this is with options, and we are returning twtr Twitter.shared instance application app open URL with options. And this is how you are establishing, well, we are opening Twitter URLs. Okay. Let's go now back to our, let's hit Command B and see if everything works okay and as it should be. And next up, we are finally going to add our Twitter button here, and maybe inside our pods, let's validate this. It's always a good thing to validate our project settings. Okay. Let's wait for it to succeed. And next up, we are going to, and it did succeed indeed, we are going to add our Twitter button. And I will simply copy and paste, because I have already done this 2 times and you already know the drill, you know how it really works. So we are going to go into our test Firebase authentication and welcome controller. And inside here we have our sign in with the Twitter button. And I will copy this out, but I will paste it in here and of course show it to you. And I will just simply go way down here until, well, before the view did load. Okay, now let me explain. Here we have our UI button. It is of type a system button and it has a title of, well, login with Twitter. And I have put here a space, I believe, because it looks much better. Well, go ahead and test it out. Maybe you just want to add Twitter or whatever you want. We have our title label. Of course, it is a title font size that we have set, and that is, I believe, 18. And here we set our color, well, the title color, and that is white. And here we have our button background color sign in with Twitter. But we kind of lack this because we need to create it, and I will go into service here and copy this one out because this is a very nice Twitter-ish blue. Okay, let me paste that in here, and now we should get rid of that error. Okay, next up is that we add our button corner radius. Of course, we need to set the mask to bound true. Now, here comes the interesting part. We want to set our image to the Twitter logo. So, let me just go into our assets and drag and drop our Twitter button. Good. Now let's go back and we should see that Twitter logo with the rendering mode of always template, and that is because we want to set its tint color to white, and that is what we do in the next slide. Next up we add a target under Twitter button tab. Okay, and that is what we are going to add now. And that is inside our welcome controller, and it is of course an Objective-C function because it is called upon the targets selector. Okay, here we have it, handle Twitter button. Let's go through it. First of all, of course, we add our HUD with well, we show our HUD with the text label login with Twitter, and here we have our Twitter TWTR Twitter shared instance, and it is missing. So what we need to do is go back here and import TwitterKit. Pretty easy and straightforward. So let's go again down here, and now we are simply logging in with and we are getting back our session and an error. Of course, if we do have an error, then we dismiss our HUD with an error, and it will be dismissed after 3 seconds as usual. After that, we are garglet unwrapping our session, and here we are adding this Twitter session to our Twitter session. Well, let me just rephrase that. We are adding our returned session, and this is it, to our Twitter session. So we want to create this variable up here, and let me just type in here var, and it will be of type TWTR session, and of course it is an optional. Okay, next up is to sign into Firebase with Twitter. So let's do that now. And it is kind of the same thing as we did with Facebook, but this time around we are going to use other types of credential, and that is a Twitter auth provider credential. So we are garglet unwrapping our just created Twitter session, and we are of course naming it Twitter session, and of course then we are going to create our credential with a Twitter auth provider, and here again we will add our credential with a token and a secret. Now, this can be confusing, and I had this mistake. I made this mistake. So this is not the Twitter key or the Twitter secret. Again, this is not these two things that you have created in the Twitter dashboard. These are the auth token and the auth token secret of our Twitter session that we have grabbed when we logged in with Twitter. Okay, make sure you do use your Twitter session here. Okay, now that you have your credential, you just simply sign in with that credential. We have done this in the previous episodes when we signed in with Facebook. We check for our error. No more talk about that. We are printing successfully created Firebase user, and then we fetch our Twitter user because we want to grab the profile image, then the user name, the username, and we would like to grab the email, but Twitter doesn't provide the email. So what you could do, and I will show you this now. Let us just scroll down here, and what you need to do if you want to add an email to your Firebase user is that you grab somehow, where maybe through a text field, you make your user enter their email address manually, and then you update their email. So auth current user update email, but you cannot grab the email from Twitter. Okay, just to be sure. Now, fetch Twitter user, and this is kind of a long one, but I will go through each and every line. Again, if you are copying and pasting, make sure that you understand each and every line. I really like Stack Overflow, I really like GitHub, but one thing that you need to remember is that you need to understand what you are copying and pasting. So let's get to the fetch a Twitter user. We are again unwrapping our Twitter session, and we are creating a client. Now, why is this client needed? Because we want to load our user. So we may get back in the completion handler a user and of course an error. Okay, and we are loading our user with our Twitter sessions user ID. This is how you can get back this Twitter user. Okay, once we do get back, so we don't get any errors, we let unwrap again our user, and then we can grab our user's name, our user's username, and of course the profile image URL. These are the ones that we are interested in now, because as I told you earlier, we are not going to grab our email for now. So it's pretty simple, user.name, and we are adding it to the name that we have. It's a variable up here that we have created in the previous video. It's an optional string, so we are adding that there so we may get access to it later on. And we are creating a new username, so let's just scroll all the way up and let's create here a new variable username and of type string optional. Okay, now we shouldn't get that error. Okay, and of course, one important thing, we are getting the username from the Twitter session, not the user, but just a slight note here. After that, as usual, we are creating a URL from our profile picture URL string, and if it goes wrong, we are dismissing the HUD. And after that, we are creating a data task URL session with our URL, and don't forget to resume it, because if you don't, it will not start. Okay, if the error isn't nil, then we are unwrapping our error and we are dismissing. It's always a good thing, well, it's a kind of a mandatory thing to take care of your errors when you are building a production state app. So next up, we unwrap our data, And with that data, we are creating a UI image, and then we are adding it to our profile image again that is created as a variable up front. And after that, we save our user into our Firebase database. And that function, let me just jump to that one, is already created in the previous video. But there are some things missing, and if you really figured this out, if you were attentive, then you already know what is missing, and that is our username. Okay, let me just use, so you may see in detail. So we are going to guard let unwrap our username. So I just copy and pasted that and enter here username and username. Now this is kind of a tricky one, and let me just go down here and continue on the path and add username here and username, because when we are signing in with Facebook, we don't actually have a username, and when we sign into Twitter, we don't have an email. So this guard let statement will fail, and actually we are not going to execute the code below. So what we need to do is actually add some values. Well, an empty string will do to our optionals here. So that is it. Okay, that will take care of that. So let's go back into our sign in with Facebook, sign into Firebase function. Well, not sign into Firebase, fetch Facebook user. Yes, save user into the Firebase database. That is where we left off. So this time we are going to create a new username. But again, we are going to fetch this username too. So we need to improve upon this. We are going to go to current user and add a new value here. So let's copy that out, paste that in here and name it username, and do the same when you initialize it. Okay, name, username and username. Okay, now we can fetch this user, and we do that, if you remember, in the user profile controller. But we don't have any labels that we can populate our username in. So I'm going to copy this UDID label out and put it under our name label, and I will name this username label and users username. And next up is to add it to our subview. Under the name label is pretty good. View, add subview and username label. And now let us anchor it. And let's just copy and paste that in there. Copy out username label. Added that there, name label is pretty fine, and username label should be added here. Okay, I believe that is okay, and I will simply change this, all of these top constants to 6. Now we kind of are ready, and I believe if we didn't miss anything, then we should be okay. Let me just double check. We are saving our user into database and we are dismissing. Now this should be fine. So let's try and build and run, and let's go for a bug hunt. So we may find any bugs if there are any. So here are our QuickTime player, so you may see what I'm seeing here. And of course we are logged in with Twitter, so we should be able to log in with our app. First of all, let's sign out. Maybe I was signed in with Facebook. Okay, one thing that I can see now is that I don't have my Twitter login button, so let's investigate that. Here is my welcome controller. Yeah, of course. We need to add our Twitter here, view.add subview, and it is sign in with Twitter button. And now we need to anchor it, so I would just simply copy this sign in with Facebook button and rename this to Twitter. Okay. And the top anchor will be the sign in with Facebook buttons bottom anchor. So let's build and run again. And let's see, let me just make this movie player a little bit smaller so you may see. Okay, here we are. And now we are indeed seeing the login with Twitter. Hooray! Login with Twitter tabbed, and something went wrong. And let me just go through the logs. Here we are, 10-minute app due to uncaught exception, and the reason: attempt made to log in or like tweet without a valid UIKit URL scheme. So, to fix this, let us just go back to our Firebase authentication, and here we have our consumer key. Let's copy this out, okay? And now let's go back to Xcode and go into your info.plist file, and here you will see, well, first of all, we need our URL types, and go back down to URL schemes and add a new one, and type in here UIKit and a dash and paste your key there, okay? And next up is that under ls application queries schemes, go ahead and create a new one, and that will be Twitter, and the other one is Twitter auth. Okay, this should take care of it. Oh, let me just go back to Xcode. Okay, let's build and run again and see how that worked out. Okay, here we go. Let's tap on login with Twitter. Firebase application wants to open Twitter. Great, let's do that. And now connect your account. Let's hit on connect. I don't know if you can see that down below. We are hitting on connect. Twitter wants to open Firebase authentication. Good, open it. Logging in with Twitter. And as you can see down below, successfully created Firebase user. We are uploading our image and saved into Firebase database. And let me just double check if we do get a new user here. Yeah, it is. And as you can see, there are no identifiers, so there is no email. If you want to update the email, you can do so later on. And let's go into our database. Let's just wait for it to load, and we should have a new user. Yes, indeed, it is highlighted with green, and I believe that this is the new one. And the name is Rebeloper, and the username is also Rebeloper in my case. And here I have the profile image URL, and we don't have any email. Pretty good stuff here, and it is with HFB. Okay, HFB. Let's go back to our, well, let me show you our Xcode and the QuickTime player. And for now, let us just try to fetch our user profile, okay? And success has been fetched. The user has been fetched. We have the Rebeloper user's username, and there is a catch there, so I want to investigate that. And there is my Firebase UUID. So what is wrong with my username? So first of all, yeah, I have figured it out. When we log into our user profile, and down below we have handle fetch user button tabbed. Okay, here we have our name label and email label, but we don't have our our username. So we should have something like this: self username label dot text equals and user dot username. And I believe that kind of fixed this issue. So let's build and run again and see if it works. If it did, then we are done for today. A really good, exciting tutorial on Swift. So let me unlock my phone here. Okay. And let's go to the user profile. Let's fetch our user fetching. And indeed, it did fetch our username. Okay. And of course, if you want to sign out, you can sign out if you wish. Okay, that is it for Twitter today. Now, if you try to log in with Facebook again and you fetch the user, or even if you log in anonymously and fetch the user, you will get a crash. Now, in the next video, we are going to tackle that. Hope you enjoyed this one. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Did you manage to grab your user profile? And if you did, then go ahead and comment down below. Give me a thumbs up or maybe some love and visit rebeloper.com. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.